What's up, everyone, and welcome to another Bitcoin market update. In these videos, you will learn how to use tactical analysis to forecast price movements in your favorite cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin, and also see where we are looking to buy and sell these cryptocurrencies ourselves. So let's get into it here with Bitcoin on the monthly time frame. Starting off with the monthly time frame, we can see that last month we had this rather large bearish spinning top reversal candle. And typically when you see these candles at the end of a run like this, they typically are signifying to you that this run up is forming a short-term top right here. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean when you see one candlestick and you're reading candlesticks like this that you can't continue to go up and continue that trend. But it is saying this is decreasing the likelihood. So when you're trying to form an investment decision, obviously, everything on this channel is for educational purposes only, is not intended as financial advice. But when you're trying to form an investment decision, when I'm trying to form one, what I'm looking for is different signals on the high time frames that are telling me it's either bullish or bearish. The price action is either looking bullish or it's looking bearish, meaning I think it's going to either continue going up, or I think it's going to continue, or I think it's going to go down. And so on the monthly time frame, when we're looking at this candlestick, there's a couple notable things about this. One, what it's telling you is the price traded up, but then it closed back down here. The price traded down, but then it closed back up here. So this is signifying some sort of indecision in the market, because we didn't continue up with one of these long-bodied white candles like we saw here, but we didn't come down and form like a bearish candle like this one or this one. And so this is just a candle that when you see indecision at the end of a run up, it's typically saying, well, we can't agree that we're going to continue just going up in price, so maybe we have to come down a little bit. So if we do end up coming down off of the R3 pivot resistance level here up at about 63,200, we'll have to break the low of last month's low here, which is 47,000. If we do that, that will set this as a high, and then we'll look to form a higher low in comparison to this one down here from September, before potentially bouncing up and going for either a new all-time high or a lower high, and then maybe switching the trend to go down for a little while. On the monthly time frame, there's not a lot of data, but what you can kind of use as a guide is candlesticks like this, and the overall trend. So we're still in an overall a bull trend here, you can see, and we haven't had a high for quite some time since August. So it wouldn't be uncharacteristic to see us set a high here in April. We'll see what we end up getting, but if we go to the weekly time frame, the weekly time frame is running counter to what the monthly time frame is telling us. And the way we know that is, last week we had this pretty bullish candle after this drawdown, where the bulls quickly recovered after this candle traded down here to 47,000. What we've also seen is a confirmed weekly hidden bullish divergence with our low set right here and then a higher low right here, but the RSI making a lower low. And when you see that, that's telling you that this is bullish. So the price is invalidating the RSI, saying that we are in fact bullish, and we know that because we just formed a higher low in comparison to this one, versus the RSI saying that we're losing strength, as you can see evidenced by the lower low. So once that weekly bullish divergence, hidden bullish divergence, got confirmed this last week, we haven't seen much follow through from the bulls this week. We've seen pretty much neutral price action since we opened. We're operating right around that same weekly open level. So we haven't seen a ton in terms of follow through for the bulls. The bulls, to continue this trend and invalidate the monthly bearish candle that we just looked at, they're going to need to trade above this high right here at 65.3. They're going to need to break above that. And once they do, that will invalidate that candle as being bullish, and then we can continue to look to go higher. But until that point, We're just kind of range bound here in between the R2 pivot on the weekly time frame and the R3 pivot here. You can see that price is kind of just traded inside of this zone. If we get a candle close above the R3, that's bullish, and then we might expect a move up to the R4 here at 80K. And if we get a push down below the R2 and get a candle close below, we'll look to go to the R1, which is down here at about 37,400. Let's go to the daily time frame and look at what we're dealing with here. Yesterday we had a very bullish candle after what we just saw on the weekly time frame playing out on the daily, which is a daily hidden bullish divergence. So you can see here's a low here, and then here's a low here, higher than this one. So we have a higher low. Look at the RSI, and we have a lower low. And so what that's telling us is, this is once again telling us this is bullish price action. And then what we're seeing is we haven't seen a lot of follow through. Once again, this looks very, very similar to the weekly time frame. It's almost the same exact pattern. We had a very bullish candle and not much follow through. Now we'll look at the daily time frame again. Very bullish candle, and so far not much follow through. And so what we need to see for the bulls to gain confidence here is they're going to need to change the trend back to the bulls' favor. So they're going to need to be right here. We had a bullish trend. So we had our low, high, higher low, and then higher high. Came up or came down, formed another higher low, and then another higher high, but we didn't close above it. We closed down below. That was bearish. Next day, boom, pretty bearish candlestick there. But luckily the bulls recovered dramatically quickly and pushed this price right back up for a bullish engulfing candlestick on the daily time frame. Right off of this blue support zone that we talked about back here, once we knew the trend has shifted, we knew this is a valid support zone, and you can see that held perfectly, at least for this first test. So now what we're looking for is the bulls are going to need to do something like this. They're going to need to, they formed their low right here. Now they need to come up. They potentially are forming a high today, come down again, form a low above this one, a higher low, and then come up again and form a higher high. That's what they're going to need to do to see this trend continue to come up to here to 65K. I don't necessarily think it's impossible for us to just continue to go up from here without changing that trend, but I think that it's unlikely given that the monthly time frame is as bearish as it is. You know, you have three signals signifying bearishness. You have above average bear volume last month for the first time since our last low in September. You have a significantly overbought RSI condition here on the monthly time frame, and then you have your bearish spinning top candlestick here. So on these lower term time frames, you have to keep that in mind when you're looking at these and thinking about going long, because then you don't want to get caught buying here and then we go down below this blue line and we go down to maybe like 37 or something like that. So it's just something to keep in mind. I personally am a trend trader myself, so I'm looking for the trend to establish itself so then I can ride that momentum in one direction. And right now, the monthly time frame trend is still bullish, but it's looking like we might have to come down and form a higher low. The weekly time frame is just chop. So if we look at the weekly trend, we don't have a trend. We had a trend right here. We had a bull trend coming up, but then right here, that got invalidated. The moment we made this lower low right here, that got invalidated. So now we need to change the weekly trend again, and this is something that we talked about. This is potentially what's playing out on the weekly time frame as well, very similar to the daily, where we need to come up, form a lower high, come down, form a higher low above this one, and then come up for a higher high. So it's like I said, once again, it is possible that we could just go from this low up to new all-time highs. It's not impossible, but it's just more unlikely in my opinion because of that monthly time frame. So let's go down to the lower term time frames now that we've looked at the monthly, weekly, and daily. We have our high time frame perspectives. Now we're looking at the lower term time frames. At 12-hour, we'll start here. On the 12-hour time frame, a couple different levels that I have drawn here. This is unimportant for this time frame. So you can see that we had a bull trend right here in the 12-hour time frame. We came up, we came down, higher high, but then it was a fake breakout right here, closed back below this high, and then we went down for a lower low. So now we came up again. Now we're rallying off of this low. Now what's likely to happen is in the next 9.5 hours, we're going to have to come down, form a higher low somewhere below or somewhere above this one, and then a higher high to come up from there. And what that could end up giving us is an inverse head and shoulders pattern. So if we come down and form that higher low, that will be our right shoulder, and then this bullish pattern could potentially take us into this yellow resistance zone here. So there's not really any entry that I'm looking to make on this 12-hour time frame trading down, and the reason why I think we're going to come down for the moment is because of this decreasing bull volume that we're seeing here. So we had increasing bull volume on these two candles, but then this candle decreased bull volume pretty significantly. So now we're going to need to probably come down and form a higher low, or maybe we just form an inside bar and then we keep going higher. Who knows? So if we go to the 8-hour time frame, the 8-hour time frame is looking not good in my opinion. And the reason for that is because of this candlestick right here. We could change this. There's still an hour and a half left for this candle to close, but if it closes like this, that's not good for the bulls. Just simply reading candlesticks, you can see that this candlestick has traded up to about 58,400, but then a lot of people have sold their Bitcoin, and now we're trading back down at about $1,000 lower. And so that's bearish price action. That is telling us that with the long upper wick of profit taking, that people are not expecting this to go higher in the short to medium term. So the 8-hour resistance we're running into is this gray zone right here that is back here from April 6th. Now this resistance zone, you can see initially this was a support zone right here. We tested it, boom, it went off to the races. Subsequently, we came into it, rejected, came into it, rejected, came into it, rejected, came into it, and now we're rejecting off of it again. If we can get 2 8-hour candle closes above this level, this will end up being a support level for us. But until that point, this is still a resistance level for us, and so we have to treat it as such. The only level that is relevant for bulls right now that I've been talking about over the past few videos is this gray level right here. So this gray level right here was the level that we talked about right here, where the price traded right through the zone, came into it, and rejected off of it to come down to here. Subsequently, we came up, we traded above this, but then this candle did not close above it. So we didn't get 2 candle closes above it here. We got 1 candle close above it, back inside. 1 candle close above it, back inside. Back inside, above it. So now this candle, if we want this to turn into a support zone, is going to need to close above this gray zone. But even if it does, I will not look to go long on this zone just because I don't really like the price action right now. It's not very clean. It's a little bit messy, and there's a little bit too much chop for me right now and too much indecision in the trends for the high time frames. So I'm just going to wait on the sidelines patiently and wait as I still have exposure to Bitcoin. And so I'm not worried if it goes higher, I'll still be exposed to that price action. But that's kind of what we're dealing with Bitcoin. on all these different time frames. I hope it was helpful for you. If you like this video, give it a like down below and subscribe for future educational content around cryptocurrency and blockchain technology. And if you haven't already, check out our beginner tactical analysis course that we just released on lutheria.com. We're running a special 20% off discount for people that sign up before May 20th to really show our appreciation to the early supporters of the Lutheria community. And so definitely check that out. You can learn a ton about how to analyze price action on your favorite cryptocurrencies so you can make calculated buying and selling decisions and ultimately generate profit. So until next time, onward and upward.